Good morning. Today we're going to make all these cutting boards. Got a herringbone design and some solid wood in quarter sawn. So if you want to see how we did it, stay tuned because that's what we're going to do today. Good morning. Welcome to another Memphis Monday. What is it? 266. Get your cup of coffee. Today we're going to make some cutting boards. About 20 weeks ago, we built this fancy cutting board kind of as an experiment. It's made out of plywood with this nice little pattern on it and all that. Today we're going to make at least one more of these and at least two more regular cutting boards. So let's knock off the chit chat and get to work. Here's a close-up of what we're shooting for. The whole thing's made out of plywood, exterior plywood. It's end grain, and then the various pieces are flipped, and I'm going to show you how to do that today to make whatever pattern you want. You make a herringbone or squares or zigzags or whatever you want. I think we're going to probably go with this again. Here, I put a schematic on the board to show you the different steps of making these plywood cutting boards. We're at this first step up here. Number one, we'll refer to these pictures later, but here's the layup. The boards have to be laid out kind of at a 45-degree angle. Then they're cut at a 45-degree angle. Then those cuts that made up this right here, they're rearranged in a herringbone pattern, and then that herringbone pattern is cut again right here, and then finally the whole thing, those pieces up here that you cut this way, are flipped to make your pattern down here, and it's re-glued. Here's that 45-degree layup. I just cut those strips and then laid them up so that they'd be on a 45-degree angle right there, so I can cut strips off at a 45-degree angle. I'll show you how I do that. Then over here, I got a couple other layups. This is oak, cypress, cedar, pine, whatever remnants I could find. I got at least two big cutting boards there. I laid these up yesterday so that we could knock off the chatter and get to work today. So I'll go ahead and take all these clamps off and we'll get with it. On the plywood cutting board, this is how the boards are laid out. They're kind of staggered. And now what we have to do is make 45-degree cuts across that layup. Here's the layup here. I'm going to make the cuts about 1.5 inches on the table saw, but to do that I first have to cut the first 45, and I'm going to do that with a skill saw. Here's our same board, but now it's cut into these nice little 45-degree cuts. Now what I think I'll do, the next step is to put them into a herringbone pattern. Let me show you on the board what I mean. So we made those cuts right there. Now we come over here and we got to arrange those 45-degree cuts into the arrangement that'll look like this. It'll be a herringbone pattern with the angles like that. Let's see if we can do that. Here, maybe you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so now the next one got to go like that, and then the next one goes like that. This goes like this. So that's the herringbone part of it. And since we have enough for 2 cutting boards, I think I'm going to leave one of them in the herringbone pattern and turn the other into squares. I went ahead and glued up the plywood cutting boards. I think I like the herringbone better than I like the squares. So I don't think I'm even going to turn these into the squares. Here's what the squares look like. Let's go over here to the herringbone. And I don't think I'm going to change these into the end grain. I think I'm just going to keep them quarter sawn. They're really colorful. I'd lose all that if I turn them into end grain. Let me trim these up. Well, I got those other cutting boards cut out. These, I don't think these are quite dry yet, but it doesn't matter because we're not going to cut on them anymore. The ways here is that when you're making these things, if you let the glue dry too long, it's hard to get off the board. It's harder. Wait till it You know, just after a couple of hours, or hour or so, you can take it apart if you're not going to be too rough with it. And then the glue is a snap to get off. And now all I have to do is cut off these pointy ends. For that other plywood cutting board we made some time ago, I coated it with epoxy as an experiment. It seemed to work, but we're going to experiment the other way this time and use butcher block oil on him and see how that takes. Well, that'll do it for Memphis Monday 266. Started out building some fancy cutting boards out of plywood, and we ended up making 5 boards. We made the big one, 2 small ones out of solid wood, and then we made the 2 herringbone. And we also used our brand so overall I'm pretty satisfied. Well, that'll do it for Memphis Monday 266. Today we started out making a fancy cutting board, and then we were going to make some end grain cutting boards, and we ended up not doing any of that. We made 5 cutting boards. They're quarter sawn on the solid wood, and we made the herringbone on the for the plywood boards. And we also switched it up a little bit on our other plywood board. We coated it with epoxy, but on these we went with the mineral oil, the butcher block oil, and kind of try that for a change. I make so many cutting boards because when I do a project, I like to throw in a cutting board, you know, as a bonus to my friends. All right, like, favorite, share, comment, and all the stuff you do on the internet. Most important, make sure you're back here next week for another exciting Memphis Monday. Thanks for playing along.